Morning, world. This is Steve Rao. I want to kick off this program before I take off today for a business trip. I'll be back early next week. Wanted to just, first of all, we have MLK weekend coming up. So we're going to maybe next week on Monday talk about the life and legacy of Dr. King. And there'll be a tribute that I'll do at 10 a.m. on the show. Go Mountaineers, wearing my West Virginia Mountaineers here, not in my tie yet today. And I just want to say today I want to kick off the show by this evening. President Joseph R. Biden, the 45th president of the United States, will be delivering his farewell address from the Oval Office. This is the end of a 60-year career in public service as the United States Senator, Vice President of the United States, and now President of the United States. What will the Biden legacy be as we look to history? And is it time for him now to move on and pass the torch on to President Trump? There does look to be a peaceful transition of power. Hopefully, the business of the nation will continue, of course, a different style. And as Donald J. Trump is inaugurated on Monday, January 20th, to become the 46th president, we'll be talking this week and next week about Trump 2.0. What does it mean in terms of deportation, deregulation, tariffs? What does it mean to U.S. foreign policy? And what does it mean to the future of the Democratic Party and their strategy to win back the White House? I'm going to go ahead and kick this off because I've got to run in about 2 minutes. But Mark, welcome to the show. And I will be back next week to continue the discussions. I just wanted to set the table today.
Well, no problem. Glad you set the table and everything like that. And yeah, a lot of people are getting ready to pay attention to what's going on with the inauguration, which will be coming up on Monday, the same day as MLK. And I know that there are even some events, including some protest events that'll be taking place. I think there's one this Saturday in the Raleigh-Durham area. And of course, there's one here in Durham on Monday itself. And so, of course, a lot of those groups that you were talking about, including the migrants, the labor organizers, and a number of others, will be putting out their agenda. And some of that agenda might be countering what President Trump is hoping to do, or President-elect Trump is hoping to do. And I've heard some people that have speculated that Biden will go down either as one of the greatest presidents, but a lot of people are actually saying that he will go down ranked as one of the less effective presidents. But I've actually seen that online and everything. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And as I was telling Shaquille yesterday, I was even watching a major sporting event. A lot of people paying attention to football. And of course, we've got the college championships coming up soon as well. But
Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night, the same day.
I gotta run, but my final insight before I leave is that I think the president is a man of resilience. He has overcome a lot of darkness in his life. So at least he was in the Oval Office. He got to make his impact. Perhaps he regrets running again and then pulling out, which might have cost the Democrats. So that might be something that he has to overcome, his legacy. I think the pardon of his son might be looked at negatively since he said he wasn't going to do that. But all in all, I think history will look at his presidency as one that was successful in building alliances around the world, leading us through the pandemic, making strategic investments in our nation, and serving the country for 60 years. And hoping that we wish him all the best as he settles down a civilian life. And as we see Trump inaugurated, I think you'll see a shift in U.S. foreign policy, one that is focused on isolationist and one that is kind of shaking up a bit. Greenland, Canada, statements like that. Is he using it as a way to shake the trees a bit and kind of keep them guessing, which might be working for him with his style. But we'll talk about that next week. Sorry, I got to run early. Don't want to miss my flight again. And I'll be back on Monday, MLK Day, to give a tribute to Reverend Martin Luther King, and also we'll be getting ready for the inauguration, which will be at 12:20 in the evening in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Uh, and
I know you got to run and everything, but there is a major legacy person here in Durham that is having their funeral not this weekend, but the following weekend. So I don't know if you've got any thoughts about, as you're getting ready to head out, about Dr. Allison, because as I said on one of the shows earlier last week, she was a kingmaker, definitely had some influences on politics. I even heard from my mom that that's actually who encouraged her to run for Secretary of State, because at the time there was no real minority representation on the Council of State positions and everything like that. So I didn't know if you had any dealings with Dr. Allison and everything, because like I said, her funeral, I think the viewing of the body is like on the 24th and the funeral is on the 25th, which will be next Saturday.
no, none yet. So I'll make sure I research that. And but thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. Mark, thank you so much. I got to run. Pray for the family, and great to see you as always, my friend.
Hey, it's always good to see you as well. I'll bring in some other news as you get ready to run off and everything. We'll see if other folks join us and all along those lines. But yes, a number of things are taking place in the world and around the world. And of course, one of them is the confirmation hearings. So late night seems to think that this Pete Hedges fellow is unqualified. So definitely a lot of folks were making jokes about that in the late night circuit. And if Rick Rosner joins us, I'm sure he'll have some things to say about that as well. So definitely that is something going on. Question on Ashan stumped Hedges at the Senate hearing. And apparently some people are wondering what Ashan is and all along those lines. So Pete Hedges' confirmation hearing brings overlapping failures into focus is what MSNBC was reporting and all along those lines. So definitely that is something going on as well. And Trump's cabinet pick for Attorney General is Pam Bondi. And folks are wondering about Pam Bondi. I know that one of our shows here, which is a new show called, that's got the title of Justice and Joy, and all along those lines, that Stella Adams does, is she's had some dealings with Pam Bondi and remembers her in different ways. And who knows, maybe she'll be bringing that up on her show that runs on Fridays now at noon and everything like that. So it is she's getting ready to do her third show. And as I was just telling with Steve, the show last week was actually a dedication at the end to Lavonia Allison and her legacy and all along those lines. But some people are wondering whether Pam Bondi would stand up to Trump as Attorney General, and Attorney General's picks loyalty to Trump will take center stage at her confirmation. So definitely there are some folks that are saying that she's one of Trump's most controversial allies, and she may become one of his safest cabinet picks. So we'll see how this all goes and all along that kind of space, because a lot of folks are wondering what she's going to do and all in that kind of way. And Gaza hostage and ceasefire deal imminent after a breakthrough in Doha, officials are saying. So GOP Senator slams a lame duck Joe Biden hostage deal that Trump envoy is working to finalize. So Hamas gives a green light to a hostage deal, Israel officials are saying. So that's something else that's going on in the world and around the world. And Zelensky says Ukraine is under a massive Russian attack. So Ukraine was pummeled by Russian missiles and drones, and Russia launched a new missile barrage at Ukraine, and they were targeting the gas infrastructure in that particular case. And my country is in crisis. A divided South Korea grapples with Yoon's arrest. That is what a BBC report said. And South Korea arrests the president on the second attempt. It took 1,000 police. So impeached South Korean president detained weeks after martial law chaos. So that is something else that we're seeing in the news and around the news and all along those lines. So a lot of people are paying attention to a number of these things that are happening around the world and are seeing how those things will impact them and what they will do in that sense. And definitely, a lot of folks are still wondering about those hundreds of miners that are still trapped and feared starving in an abandoned South African mine. So 60 bodies were pulled from an illegal mine in South Africa. Many more are trapped. So South Africa is accused of a horrific crackdown as 78 corpses were pulled from that besieged mine and everything. And the UK anti-corruption minister resigns over ties to an ousted Bangladesh prime minister. So folks are asking, who is Tulip Siddiq and why has she resigned as a UK minister? So she quit after being named in a probe against Sheikh Hassani in Bangladesh. So definitely there's some heated things going on in that part of the world as well. And Ukraine and Poland are finding common language on World War II dispute, according to Tusk. So Europe must take responsibility for its own security, is what the Polish minister is saying. And Polish leaders are vowing to use EU presidency to speed up Ukraine's membership quest. And there are grave concerns for an Australian man reportedly killed by Russian forces. Australia warns of strongest possible action if a citizen was killed in Ukraine. The Prime Minister promises the strongest action possible against Russia if the death of Australian Oscar Jenkins is confirmed. So Albanese vows strongest action possible in that particular case. And of course, President Biden is releasing his farewell letter, saying it's been a privilege of my life to serve this nation. And he is to deliver a farewell address capping a 5-decade political career. And that is definitely something that even Steve was talking about earlier when he was here. And Biden is claiming that he built the most competent foreign policy team in U.S. history. And Biden says the soul of America at stake as Trump inauguration nears. So definitely be interesting to see how this all goes. And Finland said it stopped an oil tanker 12 minutes before it could do more damage. Europe needs to do more for defense, is what the Finnish president tells Euronews. And it looks like there are some folks that are asking the real reason that Russia wants to leave the Baltics in the dark. So definitely, and as we were talking about earlier, Mahakumbh Mela, the world's largest gathering, has begun in India. So tens of millions of Hindu devotees make do with little at the Mahakumbh festival. So tattoos, pet love, bonfires, and chai chi. Ancient Kumbh has much to offer to the millennials as well. So I guess there's something for the millennials there as well. And Austria's Kickles brings Europe's anti-populist firewall crashing down. So Austria's Freedom Party breaks rank on Ukraine. Austrian far right and conservatives reach a budget accord in a step toward a new government in that area. So Vienna tries to allay Brussels' fears over the looming far right government. And France's Prime Minister Bayrou weakened by socialist threat to back a no confidence vote. So the French premier is open to new pension law in a bid for support. So France's Bayrou buys himself time with an overture to the socialists, and he signals he will revisit retirement law that led to mass protests. So definitely Social Security in some places, retirement in others, but some folks are figuring out what the latter years will look like in terms of their careers and all along those lines. So even in France, that is an issue. And Pope Francis tells in a memoir how documents on abuse and corruption cases were handed to him. So that's something else that's in the news as well. Let me get to it. I've already got to some, but let me get to some U.S. news, and then I'll bring in whoever I've got with me and everything along those lines and see what they've got on their minds. Close to Los Angeles wildfires, Palisades and Eden fires, auto fire in Ventura continue to burn. So there's even a designer fundraiser for the LA fires, and California fires are weather forecast. LA remains under extreme dry and windy conditions, so that could be a hindrance to some other firefighting as well. And Trump's CIA pick is to push for the mission over politics at his hearing. So John Radcliffe is expected to lay out a vision for a more aggressive CIA, and he's expected to push for bare knuckle spycraft against China. So definitely that's another one of the hearings going on as well. And Southern Methodist University wants to sever its ties to its church. And some people are wondering, can the church stop them? So SMU is moving to sever ties with the United Methodist Church as dispute heads to the Texas Supreme Court. So definitely looks like this particular university is wanting to move away from that particular university as well. So it'll be interesting to go see what happens in that way. And the LA fires have devastated a historic Black community in Altadena. So definitely that's something else that's in the news as well. And the Supreme Court hears arguments on the First Amendment challenge to age verification for porn sites. I know that that's been a case here in North Carolina, and apparently it's a case in Texas and other places as well. So the Supreme Court is weighing challenge to the Texas adult website restriction. So definitely, I know a lot of people in the North Carolina area and other areas might be paying close attention to that, as I know that ban has impacted some people. And TikTok prepares for U.S. shutdown from Sunday, sources say. So TikTok is running out of time and options. TikTok plans a total U.S. shutdown as ban deadline looms. So some folks are asking what would happen to TikTok on the phone if the app is banned. And Biden's Cuban bombshell shocks some Florida Democrats. The U.S. to remove Cuba from state sponsors of terrorism lists. So Florida Democrats ripped Biden for listing Cuba terror sponsor designation. So looks like they are removing Cuba from that. And Minnesota House Democrats had to file a lawsuit to Supreme Court in relationship to their GOP speaker. So there's chaos even in in Minnesota as well. And Trump's threat to place conditions on fire aid is outraging some of the Democrats. So Johnson confirms Democrat discussions on tying welfare aid to debt limit. So Republican Senator Ron Johnson says fire aid to California should come with conditions. So they are putting some conditions possibly on that fire conditions and all along those lines. And Trump's inauguration potential target for threats and agencies are warning. So it looks like some folks are asking from Jessa Hunter, Melania to Musk. Folks are asking who's been invited and who's going to be showing up at this particular inauguration. And it looks like it's going to be another cold one. More frigid cold is coming as the loop of polar vortex dips into the U.S. Weekend forecast is predicting temperatures 5 to 10 degrees below normal due to an Arctic air mass. And my understanding is that this air mass came from Canada. So I'm personally going to blame Sasha Starr for that air mass and all along those lines since he's up in Canada. I know he's not really responsible, but I've got to blame somebody. So I'll blame him since it's coming from Canada and all along those lines. But how are you fine gentlemen doing? It looks like there's a lot of things going on in the world, including some of these attempts at the folks being nominated and all in that line. And we've even got a major university that wants to sever itself from the religious organization that it was part of and everything like that. So I guess SMU wants to separate itself from the Methodists. And if I remember correctly, I think that Duke is a Methodist university as well. So I guess it would be like Duke separating itself from that particular affiliation, even though I don't know that they actually advertise their religious affiliation as much as other universities do and everything. But Jacoby, am I correct? I know they've got a religious affiliation, but I think it's Methodist, but I'm not 100% sure.
Muted. I can't really remember. It's either Methodist, Catholic. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's Methodist, but I'm not sure either. But I'll double check on that and everything. But I wish Nick was here because I don't know how easy it is for a university to divest itself. It'd be kind of like Liberty, which I know is one of the evangelical kind of schools, separating itself from the Christianity and everything like that. So what's going on?
It's Methodist.
It is Methodist. Thank you. I thought it was. Rick, what's going on in your world? How are things going with the fire and everything?
Good. The winds have been quiet for the past 72 hours. The footprint of the giant Palisades fire hasn't expanded in that time. The fire is 19% contained now, which is the best it's been. So optimistic, I guess. Half awake, 41 minutes till I can go back to bed. Only one contact lens in, so only half my brain is working.
Only half of the brain is working. I understand that and everything. Looks like Trump is still going on his energy policy. So Trump's drill, baby drill, that was one of his things that he was campaigning on. And I guess there are some folks that are saying that could run into some problems already and everything.
Every time he says that, you have to remind people that under Biden broke all of his campaign promises about drilling to drill a ton. And we have set records for fossil fuel production, including oil production in 2022, broke that record in 2023, broke it again in 2024. We've been producing more oil than Trump ever did. Now, it's only by a few percent. It goes up steadily. That's the history of oil production in the U.S. But
I mean, there's not really. The thing is, the crazy thing, everything Rick said is correct. Everything spot on. And it's a talking point because what would they're basically campaigning against the quote unquote Green New Deal. And they're still doing that and utilizing that as a talking point. So what is Trump still doing and talking about, which is the same thing he talked about with the wall. When he was in his first term, I'm gonna build a wall. It's gonna be Mexico is gonna pay for this big, beautiful wall. He got in office, he built what? Maybe about 10 miles, if that, maybe even less.
He built just a very, out of a 2,000-mile border, he only built a few miles where there wasn't already some kind of barrier. Now,
and if I remember,
I mean, there was crap barrier in some places that he made somewhat better, but
again, that's just a talking point because if I remember, some of it, the wall that he built or that he was so happy about building fell down. So it's just a talking point. Him saying drill, he's going to drill all this extra stuff. He's not really going to do much. And this is what they're from the right wing coming out. This is their big thing is why they need to take over Greenland because it has so much extra oil and we're so on oil reserves, which again, it's just a talking point because looking into the actual the facts of it, one, Greenland's not for sale. Two, we're already producing more oil than the history of this country, than the history of the world. So it's not like him drilling more is going to add anything else to it or even building more because taking into account the infrastructure build, the actual production and processing of the oil, we wouldn't even have that oil for the next decade or two. On top of that, that means we need, by that time, renewable energies, which, Rick, I know we talked about it yesterday some about nuclear fusion, but in Korea right now, it seems like they've broken the barrier to create, to stabilize nuclear fusion. So they're looking at 2030, possibly in between 2030 to 2035.
So let's talk about nuclear fusion and why it's in nuclear fusion. You're trying to recreate on Earth the conditions at the center of the sun where hydrogen atoms turn into deuterium atoms and those turn into helium atoms. And to get the pressure, it takes a ton of technology. Like you need like a huge magnetic fields or else a bunch of like 30 lasers all firing at one little single point. And the deal is to be able to get more energy out of a reaction than you're putting in through the lasers and powering the magnetic field. And this is something that they've been working on for, 50 years. And, when they get it, it could be good and, safer than fission reactors, which get energy from splitting uranium.
And it also produces more energy in that actual fusion instead of the fission, from what I've read. And you can help me out on that, Rick, because this is your area of expertise.
I don't know. I mean, there is a way to produce fusion on Earth already. It's a terrible way, and you can't use it for energy. The way to make a fusion bomb is you wrap a fusion bomb around a fission bomb. You set off an atomic bomb, and that atomic bomb, the pressure from that makes fusion in the fusion part of your bomb, and that makes bombs big enough to 1,000 times bigger than the Hiroshima bomb, big enough to take out Chicago or any city. That's no good for making energy. It's no good for anything.
And then with that, staying on the energy note, because this is why the fusion reactors are going to be huge. And this is, again, looking at the fission reactors that are out there, this is why IBM and all the big tech companies are pushing because of AI. And so oil itself, trying to drill for more oil is not going to produce enough energy to be able to deal with the energy consumptions of AI tech, as well as all of the other stuff that are coming on board, because we're steadily growing as a nation and as a global society itself. So with more people becomes more energy consumption. With more energy consumption, you got to add in all the technology and everything else that's coming into play as well. So oil isn't the answer. It should be a transition piece. So Trump is just using this again. I've said this before. We right now are arguing old tech. We're arguing old battles, and we're still having that same vision. We have no plan for the future. This is where I agree with David Walker, is that there's no plan for the future. Nobody has an idea of where we want to go because they don't understand where we want to go. So it's easy to sell. This is where Hillary Clinton in 2016 had a problem. She was talking about transitioning out of coal. Well, coal country doesn't understand that is the future. Coal is dead. I hate to say it.
There are only 50,000 coal miners left in America.
But that comment and that idea, because of the culture around it and that whole area, even though the 50,000, there may only be about 20, maybe 10 or 20 in West Virginia. Well, West Virginia has more than the 20,000, but all that spread out, and hey, let's all hate Hillary Clinton now because she's talking about moving to a different, transitioning people from the older technologies to the new. So it's just
there are two good signs. One good, the per capita carbon footprint of Americans declines by about 1% a year as we do less driving, as our stuff becomes more efficient. So in the long term, that's helpful. Another thing is we're just not making as many babies, so eventually the U.S. population will decline, which is bad for the overall economy, but good for fossil fuel consumption. The fewer people,
Yep.
Hey, just really quickly, and this is for Sasha and everything, since I know he was over there. And I know that later on today we'll have Modern Investment. There is a major company that we talk about a lot on the media show and other shows as well. But apparently they've announced a 5% cut in preparations for what they're calling an intense year. So Meta, which is definitely the folks that run Facebook and a number of other things, are to fire thousands of staff members as Zuckerberg warns of an intense year. So Sasha, are we going to see, just like we saw the tech bubble, are we going to see an internet bubble or other kind of bubbles that are about to bust and everything? Because Bloomberg is reporting that Meta is about to lay off 5% of its staff, and even Zuckerberg himself is saying that 2025 is going to be what he's calling a quote-unquote intense year and everything like that. So are we going to see a drop off in some of these internet type of companies?
I don't see any bubble in high-tech complex at all. In fact, for the last almost 2 months, there was a malaise. The market was going down non-stop, almost even if the futures would be higher. Once a trading day unfolds and stocks are going down, and it was almost for 2 months. I think on Monday on one of these programs, I said that I see the bottom is there. And judging today's action, when NASDAQ is higher than 2% overall, and almost all complexes, including financials, are doing very well today. Look at Goldman Sachs stock. So I think that the malaise is over, that the market is going to repair itself, and hopefully it's going to happen real soon. Now the earnings season is starting, and I think it's about time for high tech to reclaim leadership in the stock. And once it's happened, then the market will go to much higher signs. Now for Meta stock, I think it's very positive development that they're firing 5% of the staff. If they could fire 10%, would be even better. But 5% is not so bad. So there will be more efficient. They're firing the worst performers in a company. So each department will have to identify the not the 5% of what percentage, but perhaps 10 maybe.
I don't know who that was.
Okay,
Good.
well, somebody wants to say something.
No, I think it was a blender going on. So keep going.
Oh,
Oh, it wasn't me.
okay. No.
It's quiet
Okay.
here.
Okay, so anyway, I see all that with the Meta as a very positive development, and overall market is strong, and we'll talk obviously about it more on financial show at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, no doubt about that and everything. Kim, see that you've joined us. How is your own finances going? Because one of the things I saw was that U.S. consumer prices are rising slightly above expectations in December. So last month they were slightly above, and some folks are saying that that's a sign that Trump will inherit a stubborn inflation as he takes office. So how is your own personal finances going, and what are you looking forward to? A improved finances or a worse finances in 2025?
Well, interesting. I'm in California right now. So, of course, inflation hits naturally. I've noticed my portfolio and stocks aren't performing as well as they were when, even a week ago. So I think that there's something going on. I think that everyone is, standing on edge for the inauguration to see what Trump's going to do. There's a lot going on. I don't think we can take any more tariffs on our products right now if he tries to do that, because people will not be able to afford anything, and you're going to see a lot more people homeless, just like you do here. Which this is the first time I've been here that I've seen so many homeless, and that's concerning to me. I mean, I've been here a lot, and I know there's homeless, and I know there are a lot of them, but I'm literally seeing them in a greater mass than I ever have. And it's not that I closed my eyes to it. It's just, I'm going places I normally, go and see. It's curious to me how bad it's going to get. And I don't think it's going to get better. I think it's going to be stubborn. I think everything that Trump promised, he won't be able to make happen.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to find out how difficult it is. I think the only thing that's going to change is you will start seeing gas prices drop. I think that will start happening. Yes. Sasha, I see your
I'd
hand
like
up.
to mention something about homeless. It's so much easier to drop from property ownership to homeless class than vice versa. Once you are homeless, to get out of this status is virtually impossible. So
It
if
is.
you will have a mass of homeless people, it will only increase in its numbers, not decrease. It will increase. I'll tell you, a lot of homeless people. I have, for example, our friends, well-to-do people, and they have a son. He was married and divorced and so on, and now he's over 60, and he still lives with his parents. He cannot afford to have. He's doing financially quite well, but he cannot afford to have a household, at least a type of household as he would like to have. So, so he opted for this. But I'm sure there are many, many people in all areas who living with parents who are unable to. So essentially, they're homeless, except that the parents allow them to stay with them. Okay.
I mean, I'm helping people out right now as well, but I'm seeing a mass sense of homelessness. And it's just, I think it is a poor management of our Federal Reserve. I really do. The Federal Reserve was supposed to prevent a lot of this. I know this is Mark's show, but Rick, your hands up.
Yeah,
And
the
then
the median home price in California is $870,000, and for big cities, LA, it's over $1 million. San Francisco, well over $1 million. And so, yeah, the rule is you want to put 20% down. Otherwise, you have to buy mortgage insurance. And And most people can't come up with $250,000 to put down on a house.
Some people have a hard time coming up with a couple of $100 and everything, and that's been something that I think even Sasha has brought up on his show and a couple of other shows as well and everything. But this is for everybody, but I guess I'll direct it to you, Kim, and everything. How comfortable are you with the because you mentioned the Federal Reserve, with the banking system? Because apparently a relatively major bank just got sued because the bank they are folks that are alleging that they cheated the customers out of $2 billion. That's right, billions with a B and everything. So a U.S. watchdog sued Capital One, alleging that the bank cheated customers out of $2 billion. And definitely they're saying that they were underpaying interest to customers and doing some other things. So I was just wondering, how comfortable are you with the banking system? Because Capital One is just one major bank, but maybe other banks are doing the same thing.
Well, of course they are. And I think they've been underpaying interest for quite some time, but who controls it? And then I think they've been grossly inflating interest on credit cards and debt. And I don't think that has helped any at all. When you've got someone who, maybe, and everyone says, oh, well, they should have watched how they spent their money. But, some people are using their credit card just to live. At one time, I could pay rent or mortgage with my credit card. They not everyone allows that, or maybe they stopped that where I'm at. But I was able to pay everything with my credit card, including my son's student loan. And it was interesting to me because, I paid it off every month. Not everybody can. And I could have gotten into a predicament where that didn't happen and then have to pay, 25%, which I think is ridiculous. I think they need to control these interest rates. But I think that they didn't just steal from the people by not paying them enough interest. I think they stole by grossly inflating interest. But I saw Jacoby stand up for quite some time.
Yeah.
Kim, when you paid it by credit card, like Capital One, probably, did they charge you interest right from the moment you pay, or they would allow you grace period of 21 days or something like they usually?
Oh
do?
yeah, no, there's no grace period. But I mean, no, I didn't pay. I have 30 days to pay, or if I paid on the 3rd, I had 29 days to pay the credit card off. But after the due date expired, you pay interest.
No, it's very important because essentially what you are doing, you are taking a cash advance because you were not purchasing anything. So it was a cash advance. Now, if it's a cash advance, they charge right from not even day one, the
No,
hour.
I just charged it. I didn't do a cash advance. I charged it and then paid it off. But what I was really doing was racking up points on my credit card. I didn't need to do it.
Not only that, you had a free credit for almost a month.
Yeah, exactly. And exactly. And then I would just pay it but they quit allowing people to do that with their rent, mortgage, and something else. But I didn't do it because I needed to. I was just doing it. And then the minute they stopped or they started charging a fee, I stopped. I was like, oh, this is no fun. So
yeah, that makes sense and everything.
48% of Americans have persistent credit card debt.
Yes.
So and many of those are paying 18-20% on that debt.
Hey, Rich, does that include the debit cards? Because I'm wondering if that also, because you said 48%. If you add debit cards, it might be.
No. The debit card.
The debit card comes out of your bank.
Right.
So
that's true.
debit card is not a debt. So
that's true and everything.
But Jacoby's had his hand up for a while.
Yeah, Jacoby.
Except if you have a line of credit attached to your debit card and you go over the then you are going to be charged even on debit card.
Yeah, I'm helping someone out of that situation right now. They weren't mentally capacitated, they've kind of, and so we're trying to help them fix that. But yeah, absolutely. That's a hard situation right there. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But Joe Tovey?
Oh, I mean, I was going to agree with everything everybody's saying. I mean, the banker always wins in Monopoly. The banker's going to win in life because the rules are written for the banker to win. from overdraft fees, as we were just talking about, which is that line of credit that you're saying, they charge you exorbitant. There are a lot of individuals that don't have, I think they talk about what is it, about $500 in a
Right.
savings account. Why? Because they can't afford it. They can't even. You can talk about California and their homeless situation and the amount of money it costs for the base price of a home. I mean, yeah, it's a quarter of that here in North Carolina, but we still have people living in tents out by a lake because they can't afford a home. And
Yeah.
Sasha's right. It's just the cycle that they can't get out of because it's easier to fall into that trap.
I think bank laws should not allow them to charge you a fee to keep money in their bank. Because right now, unless you keep $3,500 in, you pay $15 a month. Well, someone who's making and just keeping $100 in there, that's $15. That's a lot of money out of their account. Or someone who's homeless who just got a job, to open up the bank account now costs money. But my son wasn't aware of this, and I know someone else who wasn't. And so every month they were losing $15. I think sometimes it's $20 because they went under, $3,500. Well, keeping $3,500 in your bank account in this day and time is very difficult. I don't know if but even I struggle keeping $3,500 in the bank, and I keep thinking, well, I'm going to go look for another bank, but that's hard to do. And, and then you try not to overdraft. Well, if you had $100 and you didn't know, you forgot about the $15 fee and you went to write a check for something and you overdrafted it, then that's going to cost you $50 plus, whatever for bouncing the check plus whatever. So now you're negative, $200 in the bank, when you were okay. So I think that the laws need to change, and that bank fee needs to go away, because you shouldn't have to pay $15 to keep $100 in the bank. You shouldn't.
Ask you, in the United States, do you have something similar to what we have in Canada, credit unions?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, they charge the worst.
Yeah,
Trust
that's
No,
a major credit.
ones that I'm a member of, okay, you pay $100 like initiation fee, and you're becoming a member,
Right.
and you have like a unit that suggests that you're like a member of the union, and they give you preferred rates and very good
Nope.
mortgages and free, absolutely free account. You don't have any charges on your
Oh
account.
no. They
Nothing.
are the worst in the United States for me that I have seen. The credit unions are, and they're supposed to give you better rates for loans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No. And
That's
my
what
sister always told me stay with the credit union, because when my husband died, so I stayed because nothing's supposed to change. But when I started looking at it, I was like, what on earth is cheaper for me to be at Bank of America? And I'm not doing an ad for Bank of America. I've just been, I've done business there, but they charge fees too. But the interest rates are lower. They do free, like they'll take your money and do free investments for you. So, if I wanted to convert, but, she keeps telling me, well, don't leave because it's hard to, you can't get back in. But they charge the most fees, more fees than anyone I know.
Well, Kim, I'd have to disagree with you because it depends on the credit union, because there are some credit
True.
unions that are stronger
This is
than others.
IBM. This is International Business
That's what I'm saying.
Machine.
That's a
World
corporate credit union, like Employee State Credit Union. I've got several friends that have been
So-
with them. They've had some good history. I've had self-help, which is a major one, even in terms
You
of
gotta
helping with
look for
development.
all the little incidentals, because a friend of mine belongs to the state employee,
Right.
and I pointed out some incidentals she didn't catch, because it's kind of covered up, and you think, oh, this is great, and I go, oh, I don't think so. And then she looked, and then she realized they were actually she wasn't getting the better end of the stick. So I think that they know how to cover it up better. But go
The
ahead.
thing is that, you have good banks, you have bad banks, be it a
Right.
credit union, be it not. And that,
They're bad.
But the
Yes.
problem comes into play. And this is why that cycle that Sasha's talking about, how it's easier to fall into the trap. Those
It is.
individuals that have a lot of money aren't actually reading all these bank things. They actually have
No, they're not.
lawyers and other individuals that are taking care of them. They're accountants and doing this stuff. while your average everyday Joe or average everyday Susan doesn't have that. So they're having to struggle with, okay, now I got to find bank stuff. Take, for instance, going to find a car, because right now I'm in the middle of trying to buy a car. Do you realize how many hidden fees there are in a car when you're going through a whole car dealership stuff? For example, I went to one car dealership. They had the document fees, the DMV fees, and the taxes. That's all the extra they were going to charge on top. I went to another one. They wanted to charge me a reconditioning fee, a dealer administration fee,
Storage fee.
If you look at CarMax, for example, CarMax, if you read the fine print, it says CarMax charges $5.99 on every car, and then in parentheses it puts this is a non-necessary fee or a non-governmental fee.
Yeah, non-state initiated fee.
So the problem comes into play for that trap that people fall into that they can't get out of is the fact that there's so many hidden fees across the board. I mean, yeah, you've got your grocery stores where, okay, well, it's $5.90 or $2.99 to buy some Ritz crackers. But when you go to the store to buy a phone, you got to buy that hidden cost. You got to look into the hidden cost because it's more than just the phone, more than just that that you're paying for the line. You also got to look at we've got the administration fee, we've got the technical fee, and all this these hidden fees. And that's a problem with our society, and why it's becoming more expensive.
This is another thing where, so boomers have all the money. People over 45 have 94% of all the privately held.
All the senators and congressmen have all
Hold
the
on.
money.
One more thing is, this is where it pays to be old and experienced and not young. And so my wife and I, when we do a there are a lot of things. I mean, we still get suckered a lot. Our cable bill, it's stupid to even have cable. It is insane. But when we buy a car, we know, because we've done it a million times before, that you are able to go through and look at the numbers and be pissy and say, this looks like a garbage fee. And you go online and you look up the garbage fee and you get them to knock off like $1,000 in crap that is sneaky. Ditto if you're trying to buy a house. And that's another thing where young people get victimized because they have no idea about all these fees.
Well, they don't know how, a lot of them don't know how some of the interest rates work and everything. But I will add, be very careful when you're buying a car nowadays, because they're very hidden fees. But they'll be selling you, you're buying a car with all these new fandangle features, right? It does this, it does that, but it doesn't do it. And they don't put it in the sales contract. It doesn't do it unless you buy the subscription fee that costs you monthly, like the heated seats, which I don't want. But there's going to be other things like your battery charging, right? Like you need to have your battery charged if you have an EV. That's going to be a subscription fee on top of if you're paying for gas. There's so many add-ons, it's ridiculous.
I think
what you're talking about are those upper tier cars that are starting to come down to the mid tier and lower tier cars. Yeah. Those subscription fees started off with BMW. BMW actually had a subscription fee for those heated seats that you were talking about. You can even go further back and look at OnStar, which was big across the Fords. So they are actually pushing for the subscriction. This is what happened, and this is why I
got one that every time you crank up the car, you have to pay a subscription.
So this is why I talk about the gaming industry so much and how it is the canary in the coal mine on so many things. Like when we're talking about these subscription fees, the gaming industry itself, that's how a lot of these developers are able to maintain these servers and keep these games going. For example, when you buy a game now, the vast majority of the games, you're not buying the whole game. What you're getting is that first piece of the game, and then you buy into the subscription service, or you buy into maybe I want this, that, or the other thing that's going to be sold that only I can get if I pay money. There's a pay to play. There's a pay to win. There's all different types of, if you look at free and free to play games means there's extra stuff on top. Cars are now doing the same thing with what you're talking about, Kim. For example, Hyundai is coming out with their 2026s and their 2025s. You have to have a subscription service in that 2025 and 2026 just to be able to utilize parts of your car that you purchased. Cell
To crank
phones,
it, just to
using-
turn it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to
cell
turn it
phones
on.
themselves have subscription
Houses.
services.
Oh, it doesn't stop there. To live in your house in the future, coming in the future. Whether you're renting or you bought your house, your the what I call your like refrigerator, your those things, appliances, utility appliances, you're gonna have to pay a subscription fee to run your refrigerator. You're gonna have to pay a subscription fee to run your oven. Everything is going to come with a subscription fee. You won't be able to afford to have a house. You'll have to commune.
So there, and Rick, this comes to you and I on our favorite shows. Black Mirror, there was episode number 2 on the first season where they had to, that was actually the point of Black Mirror. What they were talking about is you had a subscription service. You had to pedal, which is producing energy for the future. You had to go on your little bike and pedal to actually gain enough money or enough credits so you could get rid of particular things that were on the TV screen, like ads or anything else, or to be able to live. If you didn't do that, you were forced into these things because you didn't pedal enough. You didn't hit your quota. So that is where we're headed.
Yeah, that's where we're headed. And everything.
I agree. And like we're about to see a huge increase in longevity because AI plus medicine equals a ton of breakthroughs. So, in the near future, rich people will be able to, make it to 100 a lot more regularly than people do now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And-
Everything.
I see
So
more and more
somebody who's got a
people
lot of
crossing
money
90.
might be somebody like LA has. I'm sure every city has like sugar daddy bars where old guys go to hang out. Guys in their 60s go to meet divorced women in their 40s. So in the future, you're going to see guys in their 80s hanging out, trying to hit on women in their 60s, and everybody looks like they're in their 50s. But the services that keep an 80-year-old out there trying to hit on people and able to, those are going to be all subscription services. You're going to pay for a bracelet that reads your vital functions, that injects metformin into your system.
Medicines.
Yeah, and so it's all. You're right. It's all going to be pay
I
to play.
look at Gene Hackman right now. He's 94. I had no idea. I was looking at the ages of somebody was posting him.
Well,
Tom
Gene
Cruise
Hackman,
is
like
62.
when some actors hit a certain age, like Jack Nicholson, they look at themselves and they're like, well, no, I look like crap now. I'm not going to act anymore. I think Gene Hackman probably did the same thing. I want to leave my legacy as, not looking like crap. So they step out of the public eye.
Well, then look at Dick Van Dyke, who continued to act through his 90s, and he looked very young and slim compared to his age group.
Yeah.
So, it is a lot that's going on. I do want to bring up a little change of subject. Did y'all discuss the TikTok ban that's going to
I
hit?
mentioned it at the beginning, but I didn't really get into a discussion about it.
So, I got a little funny here. I'm stealing from someone, but if we get a TikTok ban, so what? As soon as RFK Jr. steps into office, we'll have enough things go viral.
So there was a thing that was trending on Twitter.
Nobody got it.
I got it.
Yeah. So, sorry. There's something called Red something. Jatovi, you probably know this.
Reddit? No,
not Reddit. It's some Chinese TikTok, like in Mandarin, that like everybody knew as a protest.
Yeah.
Jatovi, you're muted. You can explain what's going on with that.
So just like Facebook and just like with Twitter, when people talk about, okay, well, we're going to leave Twitter, they've been talking about leaving Twitter for a long time. And there are tons of other social media platforms out there. Blue Sky
It's
just happened to
It's Red
yeah,
Note.
Red Note. So Blue
Red
Sky
Note,
just
there you go.
one that people said, hey, we're going to latch on to Blue Sky because that was tied into Twitter. With this same thing with TikTok, there are tons of other sites that do the same exact thing that TikTok does. Red Note is the one that's popped up that everybody said, hey. So what Red Note probably did, because of the fact that they have money, they paid influencers, which have already said, hey, follow me on Red Note. So you have individuals that will carry people over. That's what ends up happening. You find an influencer says, hey, influencer could have 1 million followers. And you know what? Those 1 million followers are then going to follow them over to Red Note. But
Threads does it with Facebook. I always get these half stories and I go, yeah, I want to read the rest of it. It takes me to Threads and I refuse to register with Threads. I just, for whatever reason, don't like it. But yeah, I mean, you're going to see more and more. It's easy to clone those sites now. They have tools that you can get that you can recreate a site, like a YouTube or Vimeo, or even you can recreate the sites, not just the page. You can recreate a Facebook site. That's been around. So
it's just essentially what people are going to gravitate to. And that MySpace became, remember it was AOL Messenger, then became MySpace. MySpace was the thing. But there were others going on at the same time as MySpace. Yeah. Then people left MySpace, went to Facebook. There were others going on. It's just whatever.
And then Instagram. And then, and people really like TikTok. And I'll tell you why, because they made the tools to video very easy. And the editing tools made them like you could just put so much into it that you could make an ad, and they kept them in increments so that it could be utilized anywhere, your 20-second, your 30-second. So their tools were made. I would go to TikTok to make any video I needed for a video clip on Facebook because they kept it at that 20-second mark. So, I mean, TikTok was smart. I know a lot of people who use TikTok, and I just don't see it getting banned. I really don't. I mean,
it's not. It's going to get bought. And the sad thing is it might get bought by Elon Musk. And the crazy part is, if it gets bought by Elon Musk, it won't see any type of tariffs, even though Elon Musk has a big production facility in China. And then on top, and then what's even worse is he's going to use it the same way he used Twitter, which is he's going to push his name out there and his crazy BS conspiracy theories out there.
But do you think that it's right that we could bully a company like that to force them to sell to someone like Elon Musk? Because that's what I'm calling Dodge right now, is these men are going around going, we're going to take a job away unless you pay us. So I'm calling them the Department of Government Extortionists.
I just call them oligarchy
because it's their weight, right? It's going to be their weight with Trump, and they're going to go, okay, you can lose your job or you can do this for us. And I think that's what it's going to be. Dodge is extortionist. They're not about making it better. I just thought of that. It's really funny. I had a conversation with David and someone else about that, and I go, I see this as an extortion group, and they're going, no. And then when I explained it, they go, yeah.
Well, again, nobody can tell me how Doge is any different than an oligarchy. That's all it is.
All of the government where they extort money from people. If you don't do what I say, we'll do this to you. But it's, we've actually become very communist. I was having a conversation with someone and I go, when you look at all these little things, we've really become a very communist country. We say we're free, but we're not. The students who are graduating from college, they can't afford to get a job. They can't even afford to go get a job. Their student debt so high, they can't get a car. They can't get a house. They can't get an apartment. They're moving in with their parents.
Yeah,
so, and that shouldn't happen.
There's a lot of that going on. Just really quickly, and then I know we're wrapping up and everything, but I was actually going to tease Sasha, because if I remember correctly, Sasha used to be a smoker, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're now saying that it was a Trump plan. There's now a Biden plan that I guess Trump will approve again, but they're going to have lower nicotine requirements in cigarettes. So I guess we're going to move away from cigarettes being addictive, because they're planning to make cigarettes non-addictive by lowering the content of the nicotine within the cigarette. So who knows, Sasha? Maybe you'll go back to smoking again.
I don't smoke cigarettes. I smoke cigars.
Cigar.
Cigars are not
Big
addictive.
difference.
You can have 1-2 cigars a week, or maybe even every second day, or whatever. They're not addictive at all, and there is no nicotine, by the way, too. And even if you also puff, you don't inhale when you smoke cigar. So even if there is some kind of a health danger, it's very minimal. I think, like in whatever you are doing, there is some danger to your health.
We're at the
you guys,
hour.
we missed the big news of the day, though.
Which
The
was
Daredevil Born Again trailer just came out, and it looks phenomenal.
There you go.
okay. We'll have to
That's
check that
where
out.
we
and then
need to
know-
be in, not the inaugural or taking
Who's,
it over
who's
the top.
Daredevil this time? Who's
Thanks so
playing
much for
Daredevil?
joining us.
The guy who did it at
Watch
Netflix.
your finances with and how to better invest your money
Right.
with Sasha this
That'll be coming
afternoon.
our way at 1:00.
Take care, everyone.
That,
Bye bye.
okay, so it's the same guys doing the series. Okay, that's good.